Alright, so let's see what Solana is doing against both its USD pair and its BTC pair. I'm going to talk about some other very important charts which I believe are going to have a massive impact on what Solana is going to be capable of in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months. Let's talk about that towards the end of the video. Let's jump right into the USD and BTC pair to start with. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to remove drawings and I'm going to switch this over to the Heikin-Ashi candles, and I want to see what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks or so, because I haven't made a Solana Heikin-Ashi video in a short period of time. How we normally do this is we go off on the higher time frames and we work our way down. So starting off with the weekly Heikin-Ashi candles on Solana, what you will notice is that occasionally we do have these green candles in a sea of red. Now, one thing to note, this is how I personally interpret the Heikin-Ashi candles, but when I see a doji candle, I just ignore it. I pretend like it's not there. A doji candle signals indecision. They're normally these candles with a skinny body and a wick on the upside and the downside. Sometimes you can have, doji candlesticks with huge bits on the upside, small bits on the downside, and depending on which one it is, it will be called something slightly different. But nonetheless, like I said, we ignore the doji candles because they signal indecision in the market. If we take away doji candles, you can see when we had our massive uptrend for Solana, it was a huge run up on the Heikin-Ashis, and if you were trading purely based on how bullish the market is on the weekly time frame, based on the Heikin-Ashis, you were absolutely winning, because you would have rode this whole trend up. You would have seen, these red candles come in that weren't doji candles. I mean, this is kind of debatable, especially the first two are debatable whether this was a doji candle. This one is very clearly not a doji candle. So I mean, even if you sold at the first candle that wasn't a doji, you sold at the close of $183, you would have got in, round about 31 after the first close of the green weekly. So we've clearly got a huge sea of green here. What happens, like I said, we ignore these, we ignore the doji candles. You've got a huge sea of red carrying us all the way down. We had a dead cat bounce. We came into the EMA ribbons. Since then, it has been a brutal slaughter fest on the weekly Heikin-Ashis. We're clearly not out of the blue at this moment in time for Solana. So I did just want to highlight this. Weekly time frame is very important. We're in a sea of red on the volume right now, and it's very hard to see by eyeball, but this is very slightly increasing. Not that it would affect too much. You can see 570 million sold, 580 million sold, 605 million sold, and then even if we extrapolate over to the next one, 591 again, which is higher than here. So it's slowly kind of building up, or at least staying the same. And that is not a good sign considering how harsh we are dropping in the markets right now. So I would expect more blood to come into the streets, and until you start to see the volume taper down like we saw here, I wouldn't be expecting a reversal. So bear in mind, we have 590 million sold this week. This is less than these couple of candles, but it's Thursday. We've got the whole week to make this more bearish. So I do think, unfortunately, Solana against the Heikin-Ashis is in a clear downtrend. The daily as well, what you notice is sometimes we see these seas of green, and very interestingly, a lot of the time, all of these seas of green that I've seen so far, actually every single sea of green is a retest of the EMA ribbons. Apart from this most recent one we've had, we didn't make it all the way up to the EMA ribbons, but you can see every other time we only had that green because we came into the EMAs. In fact, this one we actually managed to get above it, we came back down, we didn't flip it. That's obviously a telltale sign that you are still bearish. So it does seem like Solana against the Heikin-Ashis is bearish. Looking at this on the daily, we have already started to lose momentum and we are rolling down, very akin to what we see with these bunny hills when we come into the moving averages, and we just don't hold up. We always kind of bunny hill and roll back down. So I hate to say it, I'm a big Solana bull in the long term, but looking at this objectively, it does look like Solana wants to break down further, at least on the Heikin-Ashis. That is without all of our drawings on this chart. So let's talk about what's going on in this chart. First of all, the main thing that that I want people to take away from this is we are unfortunately miles away from your 786 Fibonacci. This will define if an uptrend is still valid or not. We are below this, unfortunately, so it really does seem like this whole uptrend we've been on Solana is getting invalidated, and we are breaking bearish weekly. You know, you can see green, red, green, red, green, which is why we like to use the Heikin-Ashis. Very, very well defined if you're in an uptrend or not. A lot of people get chopped in and out of the markets when they see these green, red, green, red, green, but you switch over to the Heikin-Ashis and it's a lot more black and white what is going on. Let's jump into it. At this moment in time, you can see we are in a bear flag for Solana against the US dollar. You also notice there is a decent amount of volume coming in as we are bouncing from the bottom of this, but there's going to be a few charts that I want to show you which in my opinion kind of signify that altcoins, not just Solana but all of these altcoins, could be about to get decimated against Bitcoin, and I look forward to jumping into that. In a moment we're going to check out Sol BTC before we do check out those charts. But I mean, looking at this, these were all the trend, like this was your previous all-time high, this was your previous all-time high in terms of candle body close. We never really should have moved below 55. The fact that we're moving below the previous all-time high and we're moving back down into this accumulation range tells me that it could get, you know, a lot uglier. It's very rare that I see times where you come back and correct into the all-time high by like 10, 20, 30%, and then you just get out of there straight away. So I think it would just be a little bit of hopium for me to say something like, oh, we've got a W pattern, we're probably going to break out and go to the moon. I don't unfortunately think that something like that is going to be happening. But that being said, like I said, you can also see we are potentially forming some type of nice W pattern. If we do put a horizontal ray on the neckline, let's mark it blue, you can see if we did break out of this, we could potentially be coming up to the top slash over these EMA, not the EMA ribbons, the bear flag. And what I really want to see is a break above all of this. I want to see us back above this most important trend line, your 786 Fibonacci, coming in at $72. Until we start pushing back above some of these macro levels, I would really be very, very cautious trading altcoins at this moment in time. So that is basically Solana against USD. I do think we have further to move down, unfortunately. I do have price targets between the ranges of $19.36 and all the way down to $26.56. That is backed up by a bunch of wicks we've got down here in the lows. This is also backed up by a bunch of candle body closes up here at $26, but I'm basically targeting $25 to $20. That is, in my opinion, a fair price for picking up a Solana, and that is personally where I do plan on buying back my Solana bags, because like I've been saying, you know, I have been out of altcoins. I've been moving into more of a risk off phase where I leave a lot of these altcoins alone because I'm seeing a lot of warning signs that altcoins against Bitcoin could be decimated, and that's what we're going to move on to now. I'm only going to spend 20-30 seconds on each of these charts because I do want to wrap up the video and move on to some other altcoin analysis. Let's jump right into this. You can see Sol BTC, very similar to what's going on the USD pair, but you can see on this one we've only just broken below the 618. What's important about this is we've broken down below the 618, we've back tested the 786, we've come up to the 618, didn't quite make it up, and now we're rolling back down. If we switch this over to, I mean, I don't even need to put this on the Heikin-Ashis, but you would be able to see on the Heikin-Ashis this is a very, very clear rollover after a dead cat bounce, in my opinion. So I think Sol BTC has further to break down. I think, unfortunately, I think we'd be going down lower than 20%. So we're probably going to have to extrapolate something like this, and then this could mean that Sol could be crashing all the way down to, so this is 0.001 of a Bitcoin. This would be another 37% drop for Solana against BTC. In my opinion, that is kind of what I'm looking out for at this moment in time. Let's talk about a few charts that back up my theory that altcoins are going to be bearish and Bitcoin is very choppy right now. Looking at Bitcoin, you can currently see we are in this channel, but this channel is actually a flag. And what type of flag is it? It is a flag at the bottom of a bear flag. So very interesting to know. I mean, the last time we had one of these, I can't actually find where we had a big bear flag on this a while ago. But, you know, it's not good to see that we've got this huge bear flag at this moment in time. We really haven't even bounced up to these EMA ribbons. These EMA ribbons are dropping like a rock on Bitcoin right now. So it does seem like Bitcoin, you know, once again, zooming it out one level further, you can see we're sitting at the bottom of this falling wedge at this moment in time, descending wedge, whatever you want to call it. But as you can see, you know, we're sitting at the bottom right now. We really need to get out of this range, otherwise it could get a lot uglier very soon. So keep your eyes on round about the $30,500 unless we have a solid breakout above the top of there, and this is actually where we came up to today. Then, you know, nothing has changed on Bitcoin. Total 2, this is the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin. What this means is basically this is the altcoin market cap, and the altcoin market cap is breaking down very heavily. I feel like that's enough said. Money is bleeding out of the altcoins while this is going down. The price of your altcoins is probably going to be going down unless you're holding some complete market outlier which is outperforming all the other altcoins at this moment in time. But as a general rule of thumb, if you're holding Ethereum, Solana, Crypto.com, Avalanche, Polkadot, Cake, you name it, you are probably losing USD value and Bitcoin value. Where does the Bitcoin value come from? This is where we're going to wrap up the video. The Bitcoin dominance at this moment in time is looking like it wants to spring to the upside. And you know what's interesting about this is, where was the last time that we were in a market scenario where we had huge bear flag like this and we were poking our head above the top of a channel and breaking above the EMA ribbons? Where was the last time that we did something like this? Well, you zoom back, you can actually see the last time that we capitulated this hard down to these levels was in the 2018 bear market. What soon ensued was a huge rally on the Bitcoin dominance. The Bitcoin dominance went from 35.5% all the way up to 73%. What does that mean? That means the altcoins got absolutely decimated, as you know, the market cap is made out of X amount of cash. If 35.5% of that is made up of Bitcoin, then you've got a fair amount of cash to distribute to the rest of the altcoins. But what happens if the Bitcoin dominance is at 73%? Well, that means you've only got 27% of the remaining total crypto market cap to distribute to the altcoins. And while this was happening, we were entering a bear market. So the amount of money was decreasing while the Bitcoin dominance was going up. This means the altcoins are going down against the US dollars, and it means that they're getting slaughtered against the USD pair. This is what I think is going to be playing out soon. This is why I am bearish on altcoins. I hate to say it. I wish I wasn't, but because if I was, you know, I love making money. I love making Bitcoin more specifically because Bitcoin is my favorite type of money, and I would love if we were about to break into an altcoin season. I would love to say, you know, Bitcoin's just got the Bitcoin dominance has just got rejected and altcoin season is going to be playing out, but it seems like it's going to be the opposite. It seems like now is the time that we're going to be getting cheap Bitcoin, but more importantly, altcoins are going to be super cheap against Bitcoin. And this is what we're seeing with, you know, the altcoin BTC pairs. All of these altcoins are underperforming against Bitcoin. This is what we see with Solana. Solana is unfortunately being very boring at this moment in time. So hope you found some value in this video. Not trying to knock Solana. My profile pic on YouTube is a Solana NFT. I do think Solana is going to be a great long-term project. However, you know, looking at this chart, we're very clearly bearish on Solana against Bitcoin. We're bearish on Solana against the US dollar. So what is my trading plan? How do I plan on accumulating more Solana? Well, what I've actually done is I've sold my Solana for Bitcoin because I think Solana is going to continue to decrease against its Bitcoin valuation. And that's what we've been seeing. You know, since I sold my Solana, we have been coming down against its BTC pair, which is great. This means that I'm now able to use that same amount of Bitcoin to buy back all of my Solana plus more. What I'm really hoping for is Solana to come down to the regions between $25 to $20, but more specifically, $26.51 and all the way down to $19.47. I hope you found some value in this video. I hope this kind of explained, you know, picking my brain, why I think, looking at all of these charts, the altcoins have further to break down, and also looking at why Solana against the USD is still not unfortunately bullish. You know, we looked at this on the Heikin-Ashis, we looked at this on a lot of different time frames, but it does seem like we have just had, once again, this last bunny hill, which we normally have when we are coming in and retesting the EMA ribbons before one last rollback down to the downside. Trend is your friend until the end. Do not try and fight it. I think we're going to be breaking down lower. I wish you the best of luck in these markets. As always, cowboy out, not financial advice, and most importantly, peace.